morning, everyone. Thank you, John. Thank you, Michael. The first thing I want to say is there'll be no surprises today, so everybody can relax. I promise you that. I'm really grateful to our tourism partners, Berkshire Resort Outdoor and the Franklin County Fairgrounds, for their sponsorship today, but also for their ongoing support of the work the Chamber does surrounding tourism. Both John and Michael are members that I reach out to frequently, and I'm always happy to partner with. Honestly, Michael, though, if you ask me for one more letter of support.
For a while, it was like every single week.
Yes, insatiable appetite for grants that man has. The tourism work really represents a huge part of our workload at the Chamber. And I have to acknowledge the hard work, dedication, and creative energy of Lisa Duvall. She's hiding way in the back. She really is the driver of all that we do relative to marketing and promotion, and I don't know what I'd do without her. I also want to introduce and thank Suzanne Beck, who's been instrumental in assisting with our branding project. Suzanne, okay. So we do have some announcements and salutes. We have a lot of people here having for their first breakfast today, which is really exciting. From Greenfield Savings Bank, we have Kevin DeRosa, Joanne Putnam, and Kim Zabek. We have Carmela Lanza-Wheel from LifePath. Weil. Joe LaChance from the Friends of the Franklin County Regional Dog Shelter. Jackie Porter Henry, Edgardo Rosario, and Nate Marr of Berkshire East and Zor Outdoor. And I just want to acknowledge that Jackie is also a member of our board of directors. And we have Christian LaPlante, who is a grant writer for the city of Greenfield. One more, Holly Martineau of the United Way of Franklin and Hampshire region. I want to acknowledge a familiar face that's here today, but with a new job. Keith Barnacle is now the economic development special projects planner with the Franklin Regional Council of Governments. So we're glad you're still with us. And we're joined by a new member today, Deborah Christakos of Pioneer Valley Food Tours. Just a reminder that next week is our April Business After Hours. Join us on Thursday, the 28th at the Deerfield Inn for some great nibbles, a cash bar, networking, and a chance to walk next door and get a sneak peek at the visitor center space. The Greenfield Recreation Department will again be hosting a soapbox on Nashes Hill Road this year on Saturday, May 7th at noon. The race will be a fundraiser for the annual Independence Day fireworks. They're looking for racers and any last-minute sponsors to help make the event a success. The Derby is a fun community event for both racers and spectators and brings in people from as far away as Albany and Pennsylvania. Individuals, families, and businesses can build carts and test their mettle to win trophies and fame in front of cheering crowds. Racers can be as young as 8 or as old as 80. And carts can be as simple as a 3-wheeler bolted to a sheet of plywood or as elaborate as a submarine with an octopus riding on top. There will be speed trophies as well as creative trophies. So Greenfield Recreation is working hard to make this another annual event, and they hope the residents of Greenfield and surrounding towns will participate to help make it a success, both as a fundraiser for the fireworks and as a way to bring people into town to watch the race and then spend the day and enjoy Greenfield. So racer sign-up deadline is the Saturday the 30th, and please support this event if you can. Their sign-up forms are available at greenfieldsoapboxraces.com. But Mick Muller is the go-to guy on this, and he's right there in the back of the room. So if you have any questions, you should definitely want to see him. Speaking of tourism, we are getting out. I don't know if it went out yesterday or it's going out this morning. this morning. So check your inbox later on, because we're sending out a voter voice link where you can let your local legislators, like Natalie Blais, who's sitting right here, who doesn't need any reminders about supporting tourism, by the way. She's a champion for tourism, but it allows you to send a message to legislators that you support. There's some bills listed you can read through, what the 16 regional tourism councils throughout the state are looking to have supported. So watch your mailbox for that. It's a couple of clicks lets you show your support for that. So now I'm delighted to turn this over to our speakers. First, I'd like to introduce Keiko Orrall, Executive Director of MOTT. Keiko has been a fierce advocate for regional tourism councils and for statewide efforts to market and promote Massachusetts, and a real friend to Franklin County. So.
Good morning. Thank you, Diana, and thank you, Shelby. Thank you to all of you for this kind invitation to be with you this morning. We are thrilled. Tony and I are thrilled to be with you to talk about tourism. I believe this is the first chamber event breakfast that I've had where it's been a focus on tourism, so we're just really thrilled to be here. A lot of times we do present at chambers, but we're part of the program. We're happy to be a part of it, but where the focus is on tourism, this is phenomenal. I left my home at 5 o'clock this morning in Lakeville, Massachusetts, and as I was driving, traffic isn't bad at 5 a.m. It was dark, but as I drove west, and then as I turned on 91 to come north, the sun is coming up. I'm like struck by the beauty of Franklin County. I visited Franklin County prior to the pandemic, and I went to school out here in Western Mass. I went to school in Northampton, but this is a beautiful area, and I think sometimes it takes someone with fresh eyes to remind you that you live in a beautiful, beautiful part of the Commonwealth. It is truly a hidden gem. Now, Lakeville is also a hidden gem, so we invite you to the South Coast this summer when you're traveling, but we're thrilled to be with you. I have a slide presentation I'm going to run quickly through just our agency and what we do. And then Tony's going to give more of a detailed analysis of the economic impact of what tourism is and can do for Franklin County. So Lisa's, thank you for that. So we are an agency within the housing and economic development sector. Secretary Mike Keneally is our secretary, and we are the marketers of the Commonwealth for business and leisure travelers. We are working across a number of different areas that we're going to go with. We're going to go into a little bit more detail, but basically we're the marketers. We promote Massachusetts. We have a wonderful state to showcase. Next. Our primary partners before the pandemic and continue to be part of our marketing family are the regional tourism councils. There are 16 of them, and we are in statute. We work with them. We're the umbrella, but these folks are on the ground. Diana's here. She's promoting Franklin County and the specific area and the uniqueness of Franklin County. Next. Our collaborators that we also work with, we work with Mass Lodging, Mass Restaurant. The list is here on the slide. We work with our partners in state government, Rep. Blais. We work with the Joint Committee on Tourism, Arts, and Culture. We work with MDAR. Ashley Randall is here from the Department of Agriculture. We work with Massport, the Convention Center, MassDOT. Regionally, we work with an organization called Discover New England that partners with the New England states to promote international travel. We work with the New England Bus Association, again, the Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions. We work with the Ski Association, the Massachusetts Ski Association. Nationally, we work with our U.S. Travel, and I am part of a State Tourism Director Council. And internationally, we work with an organization called Brand USA, which is the nation's destination marketing organization. Our office, prior to the pandemic, we worked with our regional tourism councils, your getting the point that we're the marketers, so we were promoting Massachusetts, doing our thing. And we did that through a grant that's provided through the legislature that we administer annually every year. And that was primarily where we were in that space, and we did some work with the international market as well. As part of the recovery, we have launched a series of new grants, one of which is the Travel and Tourism Recovery Grant. It's a $4 million grant program that just issued 80 awards that are aimed at supporting the tourism industry through marketing efforts. A capital grant that Michael referenced is a destination development capital project that's the administration, the governor is is very, very excited about the capital investments that are going into the tourism industry through our new destination development capital program. That's going to things like the ADA accessible sidewalks, the bathrooms accessibility, visitor centers, things like that are really infrastructure-based and hardscape projects. So that's new. That's totally new, and we're thrilled with that. We have another grant program that we're opening with the help of the U.S. Department of Commerce through the EDA grant funding that we received, and that's the Travel and Tourism Season Extension grants. We're aiming to put that money towards focusing on November through April and trying to impress upon people that we are a four-season destination. Our statewide marketing efforts are primarily through visitma.com. That's our website. Businesses can be listed for free. And I know that Diana does a great job of keeping people up to date. I want to encourage you to check out that website, see if your travel and tourism businesses from Deerfield to Northfield to Greenfield are listed in that account. It's you can link your restaurants, your stores, things like that. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We love to have that interaction. That's where society is going, and we want to be able to promote your efforts here in Greenfield. As an aside, I just want to thank the Greenfield Recorder for being here, and the cable for being a part of this meeting. It's so important to get the word out about how much can be done through tourism here in Franklin County. Our regional promotions, we have the Massachusetts Whale Trail. You have a new copy of the Women's Trailblazers. That's something that we did in-house during 2020 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote. And we have all of these are listed as digital guides on our website. Next. Our office is also, we also have oversight with the Mass Film Office. It's a very busy time in film within Massachusetts. Here are some of the things that are going in various locations, from Apple to Netflix to Showtime to Disney to they're listed here as well. It's very busy. Major sporting events. We have the U.S. Open coming in June. Next week we have an Army-Navy bid that's coming we're bidding for 2023. We're excited about that. We have the possibility of the World Cup coming to Boston in 2026. I think sports and the recreational world is a whole world that our agency can do a lot more as far as promoting and helping that piece of the tourism economy. So one of the things that happened with COVID in our agency is that primarily we were outward focused. We're trying to get people from outside of Massachusetts, from Connecticut, New York, Vermont. We want them to come to Massachusetts and spend their money and enjoy our resources. With COVID, we changed that, and we made our focus about intrastate marketing, where we're encouraging people here in Massachusetts to explore the hidden gems in your own state. And we launched a campaign called My Local MA, which is a buy, stay, eat local message to support brick and mortar businesses as part of the economic recovery. It's not a hard message to understand. Many communities have the buy local message, but we haven't done it at a statewide level. And we're thrilled with the response that we have gotten, that people really, they like that support and showing that to their businesses in their communities, and it's making a difference. During the pandemic, it was so easy to just sit on your couch and order, and it is still easy to do that, but if you pause and think for a minute about what your purchase could mean to a brick and mortar store, we're asking people to take that extra time, put your money where your heart is, right here in Massachusetts. This is some of our creative. We worked with Massport, MBTA, MCCA, Red Sox. MassDOT has been a great collaborator. We've had billboards across the state, and trying to help people to understand the importance of supporting their local businesses. The partnerships that we've created as a result of the pandemic have been phenomenal. Prior to this, we worked as an agency. With the pandemic, we are now working with Massport, MBTA, MCCA, MassDOT, the Red Sox, the Celtics, the Patriots. We're working. Everyone was pulling together, and I'm sure that you have seen this in Franklin County, where it's like, if we can work together, we'll get more if we're working together. And I see that happening even with the grant processes. We're encouraging regional partnership. We're encouraging people to work together. I was talking with Carter about some of the celebrations that are coming up with the anniversaries and the opportunities that would be there if people were working together and planning so that people could, so that things aren't on competing weekends, but that are actually complementary. So we're thrilled about the partnerships. So how do you get involved? You can use the hashtag #MyLocalMA. We're calling it a movement. We're asking you to join our movement. We have customizable marketing assets. We have things that you can print and display. You can share your story at visitma.com. That's another free feature. And as part of that campaign, last summer we focused on restaurants. We focused on a campaign called, it was Let's Go Out, but it was really an effort to help our restaurants understand that they are an important part of our tourism economy. The key takeaways from my short piece, Tony's going to go into more detail about the economic impact. Please join our movement, support Massachusetts businesses, buy, stay, eat local. Use #MyLocalMA on social media. Check out Visit MA if you haven't done that already while you're on your phone. Please make sure that the businesses here in your region are highlighted and share your business story. I again am so grateful for the invitation to be here and look forward to seeing more of Franklin County later on today. And with that, I will introduce our research director, Tony D'Agostino. Tony has been at the Office of Travel and Tourism for several years. He keeps trying to retire, but we won't let him. And hang on, because he's got a great story to tell. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for getting me up at 4:30 in the morning. So nothing like talking about data. This is, well, I helped raise 3 children basically by yelling a lot. So can you hear me? Can you all hear me out? Because I might have to point. So we're going to talk about a lot of things. Next slide. Let's look at Massachusetts. How important is Massachusetts to the United States? How important is tourism to Massachusetts? We, pre-pandemic, welcomed about 30 million domestic visitors annually. That ranked us about 20th. 1.8 million overseas visitors. That ranked us about 8th. We ranked about 16th in spending. 16th. 50 states, 16th. Little state. Very important. Okay? In 2019, there was about $25 billion in combined domestic and international spending, generating $1.6 billion in state and local taxes. Who knows what the budget is for the state? That's a big chunk of it, right? And 155,000 jobs. Okay, now the pandemic was not equally disruptive to all industries and to all regions, so we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit. But let's focus on this for just a second. If you were to look at the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, they'll tell you that there's 350,000 leisure and hospitality jobs. Yet we are only counting 155,000, right? So the first thing, and this is the answer to all the other questions I'm going to ask you later on, so please keep this in mind. We look at Can you guys hear me? Yeah, they can hear me.
Philippe, will the TV pick it up? The camera?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Ba-ba-ba-boom. Okay, so we have a definition of a tourist. Tourist is someone who goes 50 or more miles one way or stays overnight in paid accommodations. Why is that? Every state has it, so we're always comparing apples to apples, right? Year over year, we get trend lines, compare other states, we get market share, right? If I leave my house and I go left to McDonald's or right to Burger King, that's not new money to the state. It's simply substitution. When I make a conscious decision to go 50 or more miles, or I stay overnight somewhere, that's new money to the state. That's what we count. That's why only 155,000 jobs are counted by traveler spending as opposed to the 355,000 that Bureau of Labor Statistics says is leisure and hospitality, right? You have a hotel, you have a restaurant, you have 100 employees, half your business is local, half your business is travelers, tourists, our definition. You can only count half the jobs. Make sense? Awesome. Next slide. Okay, so the one metric that is really correlated highly with how spending happens in the state from these travelers that we call them, these tourists that we define, is lodging. Lodging is the one metric that's almost 100% associated with travel and tourism. And if you look at this, this runs from 2019 all the way to the end of 2021. And this looks at a metric known as RevPAR, revenue per available room. It's very, how many hoteliers do we have? Any? Okay, it's a very important metric to the hotel industry. And you look at, the green line is Boston. The blue line is, this is what I use, blue line, Massachusetts. Hampton, Hampshire, and the US line is, they're all really together down at the bottom here. So the green line represents Suffolk County, Boston, basically. You see how high up they were in 2019. So when the pandemic hit, look at the crash. Okay, why is that? City, pandemic, crowds, expensive, no outdoors, okay? Boom, big crash. Everybody else, medium-sized crash. Everybody's starting to come back. You can see that Hampton, Hampshire, and Massachusetts in general are coming closer to where they were in 2019. Suffolk County is way, way behind still. Next slide. Another way to look at this is RevPAR, the US, Mass, Hampton, Hampshire, and Suffolk. If I fall, don't worry, I won't sue. My brother was an attorney, but I won't sue, I promise. It's 2019, 20, 20, and 21, and 22 forecast. You can see everybody's coming back. The US is coming back. Massachusetts is coming back. Hampton County coming back. Hampshire County coming back. What's happening to the cities? They're way behind. They're still at 2013 levels. So you have a huge, huge advantage here. Okay? As people before me have mentioned, you got 91, you got 90, you got Route 2. Everyone's going by. Pluck them. When I used to talk to the people out in Metro West, hey, there's a 400-pound gorilla just to the east of you. Take a little bit. Intramural, yeah, but so what? Leaves more room for more people to go to Boston if you grab something, right? Okay, next slide. Now, this is the, so I put these slides together so you can have them if you want to reference them later on, okay? But I'm going to try to explain what's in here. You want to look at the top and the sides, then look in the middle. This is the economic impact of domestic and international travel in Massachusetts. 19 pre-pandemic, 20 pandemic, right? Volume is very sexy. People want to know how many cars went over the Bourne Bridge 3:30 Friday afternoon in May, right? Very sexy, but it is not as easy to track and then correlate to economic impact as spending. Spending, we look at tax revenue, we look at hotel revenue, we look at credit card data, we look at data from a bunch of different sources. So what good is it if a bus full of 200,000 people drives up 91, everybody looks, keeps driving, and looks. Okay, so they drove 50 or more miles, they didn't spend a penny. Okay, one person comes overnight, buys. Very important, right? So let's look at, in 2019, there's a $25 billion. The taxes both state and local, and you can see the drop. Look at those drops. Okay? That's staggering. On the international side, it dropped about 80%. Okay? Volume was down about 33%, but spending was down like about 55%. And what does that tell you? I look for anomalies. Why does one thing shrink more than the other? Why does one shrink less than the other? So volume went down less than spending went down because we're a high-cost destination. Right? One person coming to Boston spends more money than one person going to Franklin. One person coming to Massachusetts spends more money than one person going to Rhode Island. Okay? So there is a disparity between drops in volume and drops in spending. Does that make sense? Awesome. So if you look at us compared to the U.S. is the final column over there. You see we're down 60. U.S. was down 46. Well, the U.S. is huge. I've driven through 44 different states. I guarantee you it's huge. There's a lot of rural areas. They did not suffer as badly as the urban areas. And in Massachusetts, it's very dominant. Boston is very dominant. It accounts for about 50–60% of all the spending and all the volume. So it's huge. So when they take a hit, Mass takes a hit. Okay, next slide. This is Western Mass, which is you guys, Hampshire, and Camden. Okay, and you can see some of those numbers. They're less, down 28%. Massachusetts down 55% in spending. Jobs down 20, Mass down 28. So Franklin did Western Mass, did far better than Massachusetts. Far better. So what happens to market share when you don't go down as far as everybody else? What happens to your market share? It goes up. That is directly related to the grants that Diana and other RTCs fight for each year. So this metric indicates that in the future, the piece of the grant that's associated with spending in your area will go up. Okay? Now when we talked a little while ago about lodging, a couple of slides ago, we didn't have any information on Franklin. The company that we use called Smith Travel Research, they have requirements, and unless a certain percentage of the hotels in your area are participating, they will not report. Okay? Let's say there's only 2 hotels. They're not going to give you the information, Franklin County, 2 hotels, because then you can figure out what they do, how they've done, which is a little bit ridiculous, but that's the reason, okay? Okay? I'll tell you a secret. They give me the Mass number, they give me all the RTC numbers, and they don't give me Franklin, right? So if I add up all those others and I subtract it from Mass, what do I get? Franklin. Okay, but I can't produce it. Okay, next slide. Okay, here's Franklin County. And again, if you notice the numbers under change, they're even less than Western Mass. So Franklin did better than Western Mass in general, and Western Mass did better than Mass. And Mass did, not as good as the U.S., but. So, next slide. Okay, so what goes into forming all these numbers, as we talked about? Some volume numbers, some credit card data, some tax data, a lot of different stuff. The volume data always came from surveys. So you have a panel. They say they're travelers. They agree to answer questions. There's a problem with that. If you get 100 responses and they're 50-50, male-female, and you know your population is slightly skewed to female, then you've got to adjust. Okay? So we've been looking for a different way to look at volume. And with the new technology, we've got this, we entered into an agreement with Arrivalist. What they do is, you have a device, you've downloaded something, you've given Arrivalist the right to track your device. Okay? It's a device. Doesn't tell us about who's holding the device, who's with the person holding the device, or what exactly they do, but it is a heck of a lot more immediate and accurate than the surveys that we used to do. Does that make sense? Okay, next slide. So we can geo-fence an area. So we put a line around it, not a real fence, a geo-fence. Okay, so you draw right around it. And we can look at every device that comes into it and what they do when they're in there. And what they say, watch out. Okay, next slide. So this is a typical dashboard that Lisa would have access to. So what it tells you is for Franklin County, where did people come from? What the share of the trips was? How long did they stay? Trips by day of the week, length of stay. Did travel by distance. So this is an exciting new piece of technology that we can use not only to get a clearer picture about where people are coming from more immediately, because surveys take weeks to process, but also this technology can be used with digital programs that market the state. So if we're marketing the state, we give this information about what we're doing on the marketing side to arrivalists, and they track who had a device, who looked at the marketing, who came, who didn't have a device, who had a device, sorry, didn't look at the marketing and came. The certain assumption is that the marketing helped get that lift, right? So we can use that to calculate how much that program returned. We know how much we spent, how much did it return, we get an ROI, return on investment. Make sense? Great. Next. We can even drill way down and see where these people came from. So during a certain period here where we looked at this, we know that there were 2,500 trips from Charleston, 18 from Quincy, okay? Revere. How come Winthrop's not here? Revere, my neighbor. Malden. Some people call Winthrop. I call it East Boston. Wollaston. Does anybody know where Wollaston actually is? No. It's near Quincy. Beverly and Groton. So this is something that Keiko pushed on the uppers, as she refers to them, the powers that be, to get a more modern approach to doing what we've done historically in a less modern way. Does that make sense? Okay. So next slide. We're going kind of fast here, but if anybody, are they going to get copies of these presentations, everybody? You're going to send them out? Yeah, send them. So if you have any questions, you can always follow up with questions. Okay. What influences travel? Demographics influences travel. Financials, environment and marketing. Demographics. Do you have the time? Do you have the money? Financials. The dollars. What's the condition of the economy? Okay. What's the state of the economy? The environment, the pandemic. If it rains on a weekend, guess what happens to the Cape? They don't get it, right? Okay, and then marketing. Marketing. Does marketing work? I don't know. Go ask Pepsi. Go ask Toyota. Go ask McDonald's. Huh? Next. Okay. A company that we work with did some surveying, and there's a whole bunch of words there, but I'm just going to read the ones highlighted. Maintaining a market presence, even during adverse conditions, benefits destinations. You've got to keep marketing. Okay? Travel demand is far more resilient than many originally thought. Look at this. By the end of the year, we might be where we were in 19. We had a pandemic. You couldn't do anything. I drove around the North Shore day after day in the car. Just drove around because you couldn't really do anything else. But we're going to get back to where we were. Okay? And evolution is continuous. Destinations are increasingly moving to a more targeted approach to marketing beyond the traditional demographic approach. That's where a company like Arrivalist, a product like Arrivalist comes in. Okay? Next slide. Western Mass came out of the pandemic stronger than when you went in. Growth of share of mass traveling economy, your market share is going to go up. Travel leadership across the board here in Western Mass made effective decisions, continue to market and continue to promote. This region has a mix of assets which are very stable. Tourism in itself is fairly stable. Tourism isn't like financial services or banking, right? They can pack up and they can leave, right? We're not going to lose the Berkshires. We're not going to lose Franklin. We're not going to lose the Cape, are we? We're not going to lose Boston, are we? Right? Very stable. More so when you have the breadth of assets that you have here, you know? And MOTT's moving forward with several programs aimed at growing travel within the Commonwealth and its regions. Okay? Next slide. The end. Is that 10 minutes? Is one quick question. This was interesting. This came up once. Tourism is an export, right? And how can it be an export if people come here? They bring the money here. So if you guys can figure out how to get them to send the money and stay there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, to both of you. I really, really appreciate it. I just really want to emphasize how hard Keiko has worked to leverage more funds to go to RTCs through the pandemic, and then to also get filtered into all of those grant programs you were talking about. I mean, it's really been something that I've really appreciated. Before the pandemic, I took Keiko on a two-day tour of Franklin County. We spent a couple days together. We went to like every corner of the county, from big things like I brought her to cider days, and we stopped at the Greenfield Savings Bank ATM over by Big Y, because that's really important for people to see. But as we're driving up Route 2, she kept saying, "Wait, stop the car, I want to take a picture." And I wondered how long it was going to take her to figure out that it was like happening every 50 feet, and maybe we could just not do that. Anyway, and Tony, thank you so much. Tony gives us spreadsheets larger than any spreadsheet I have ever seen in my entire life. But he really does love charts and stats, and I think you can tell by his enthusiasm today. So now we are so excited. So part of this tourism this tourism work we do, in the last grant round, we got some extra funding to do a branding of Franklin County, and we're going to present the results officially today so that everybody can see them, and we're super excited about it. So I'd like to introduce Rob Stewart from Transit Authority Figures. It's a firm out of Northampton, so we used a local firm to do this work. They also did the branding for the Hampshire County RTC a handful of years ago, maybe a little bit more. So we had a lot of confidence in them going into this and are just super excited about the end product. So, Rob.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. This is really exciting. We've been working on this project for about 5 or 6 months, and I've gone through a lot of iterations. And I was talking with Lisa and Carter earlier at breakfast, and kind of like akinning this process to making maple syrup, where there's like thousands of gallons of sap, and we're getting like a half a jar of like the really sweet stuff. So that's what we're going to show you today. Next. Oops. I don't have a clicker. So yeah, I'm from Transit Authority Figures. Next, we are a branding graphic design firm. We kind of we get involved in all kinds of things creative. Next, please. So yeah, that's us. We got James and Damia and me. I'm the creative director, and Jess. Next. Today, I'm going to just give you a quick recap of the process that led to this point. Some of the inspiration that we drew from, the visual identity, the mark, the logo, the avatar that will represent Franklin County, that encapsulates the allure, that the community, you all, will be excited to use, and will leave a lasting positive impression on these varied audiences. And then finally, taking that mark and incorporating it into a campaign platform with the ability to express the Franklin County stories that John was talking about at the very beginning. Each one of you has your own unique needs for your businesses, and we want to give you a brand that is flexible enough that you can appropriate it for your own needs. Next, please. So in the recap, we have next. Lots of inspiration, all the Google searches and all the going through books and going to find out the origins of where did Franklin County come from, who said it will be Franklin. We went on the exploratory expeditions into the county, going on back roads, taking tons of pictures. We did this online survey with over 300 participants and got amazing feedback. People speaking about attributes and values of Franklin County, of what kind of symbols would best represent it, what colors would best represent it. And then we designed and presented to the working team like 4 pretty complete directions, but one of them really rose to the top. And then so for inspiration, I'll go through this really quickly. We did a whole bunch of historic deep dives. Really loved some of the early Franklin County brands, the Russell Tool Company in Turner's. Loved that R mark with the arrow and the knife there. Loved the thick, bold, straightforward typefaces of like the Miller Tools. And then just driving around and snapping shots and like what spoke to us. And there was like a rough-hewn, hand-drawn, elegant, could be sculpted in metal, something that feels industrial and long-lasting, but very human. Next. We went through all of this, dozens of years of past efforts to brand Franklin County. There was the Upcountry, Massachusetts. Does anybody remember Upcountry, Massachusetts? It was a big deal in the mid-'80s to revitalize the northern tier, they called it, most of which was Franklin County. And they developed a whole identity for that. And from that, the Green River Festival kind of was born, well, at the same time. The big Upcountry event, I think, was the Balloon Festival, and it kind of coincided with WRSI's first music festival. And then, but most of all, we were inspired, and it's come up several times today, about the natural beauty of Franklin County, these rolling hills, the vistas, the winding rivers. Rivers, people spoke about the love of the rivers so much, as much as the views and the hills. Next. And so here we are at the visual identity, and so we take all of this and we boiled it down to drum roll. So this is the core mark. We've got the rolling hills. We've got this. It's a sun. It's a moon, and it's just coming up over the horizon. It's the dot on the I on Franklin, and it was important that the mark not just be like this, like a symbol, that it needed to say Franklin County. And if we see the next one, and then if we add the tagline that we developed, and we've heard several times today, it's talking about hidden gems. We heard a lot in the surveys about people coming to Franklin County and discovering something that they had no idea was there. Or maybe they were just passing through and they pulled off and they're like, wow, this was like the best burger I've ever had. Next. So, we developed this mark and get a color palette going. Greens, oranges, autumnal colors were what we heard over and over again. Next. And then sometimes we'll want to use the mark in a place where maybe the tagline doesn't work, but we need to have Massachusetts in there. Next. And then we have this mark so that it's very flexible. We can pull that, we're calling it the moon tree. We can pull the moon tree out and make that the primary avatar. And if we're in very vertical or horizontal spaces, in the internet and all of the social media platforms, you just never know how your mark is going to need to work. And so we want to make that very flexible. Next. And then today we're going to show you, we have for you the very first pieces of merchandise with the new mark. Next. We've got some stickers. Next. Got some pint glasses. Next. And then we did so part of this, we've developed an illustration style that we can make these like cute little locally based looking illustrations. Next. We have put together a coaster set. Because you have so many breweries and cideries and wineries, that it would be great to be able to pop that pint glass on it, and it's very charming. And it would be great to have a stack of these at Treehouse or wherever. Next, and a tote bag. We don't have any tote bags today. I'm sorry, I don't know how that slide got in there. Next. And then also don't have today, this is just showing like how can we apply this mark to all kinds of merchandise. So at the visitor center down in Old Deerfield, when folks come in, they can have something to bring home to the kids, like this and like this. Gotta have onesies. Here's a extended color palette, which looks amazing on the projector. And we've got typefaces going that we'll use to next to use whatever sort of like visual language, typographic language, keeping everything very coherent and consistent from ad to ad, day to day. Next. And then there's the campaign platform where, so we take this mark, we take these colors, we take these fonts, and now we want to tell stories. So the next, please. So you can come out for a day or a weekend, but you'll have to come back because there's always more to do. There's always more. Next. There's more to Franklin County. There are always more sights to see, more villages to visit, more crafts to crave. And then we integrate some of this typography. And you realize, oh, okay. And we can start really being specific about everybody's interests and industries and needs. And so you can start thinking like, oh, like what would apply to my business? Next. Oh, there's more. Right, more sweets to eat, more truths to tell, more vintage to value. Next. So essentially, this is what it comes down to, right? It's like what noun do you have and how do you verb it? Next. So we have a couple of just very easy rules. Maximum 8 letters. The words can rhyme or be alliterative. And it's sort of as simple as that. So then we take these and sort of pair it with imagery and like, how do you make an ad out of this? So next, please. So it'd be something like, if it's for a bookstore, we have more spines to search. Next. More crafts to crave. Next. More poems to ponder. Next. More songs to sing. Next. And here's some, was taken down at Boylston Station. It's not Boylston Station. With Zor and Berkshire East, more rivers to ride, more bumps to jump. Next. And then, even walking in today, and I saw the window transom wall walking in, and there's 15 stickers on there advertising the different associations and whatnot. But to be able to have stickers that could apply specifically to your business, and then when the tourist sees the third or fourth one, and then they start picking up this is this is a coherent story that they're telling, and this can be then applied to really whatever advertising platform you would need it to go to. Next. And so that is the new mark, and you'll get to enjoy that on the swag on your way out. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, and just on my way out of that, I just had a couple of quick thank yous. Was next to Lisa and Diana and Susanna for so much help and made this process really a thrill. We had so much fun researching and designing, and it was great. Next. And then Linda Dunleavy at FERCOG let me rummage around in the old Franklin County files for a day. And then we had all these participants. It was, and I think all of this is available on the Chamber's Facebook page. We gave some presentations earlier that went a deep dive into the survey results. And the next, and then all these photographers who let us make these mock-up of ads. And finally, James Hindle from our studio was the primary idea person for so much of this. And I know that Linda and Diana and Susanna heard Damien and I talking about it, being like, it's all us. But James had really so many of these ideas. But yeah, that's it. And so thanks so much for your time. And yeah.